That's critical. Okay, this seal is perfect. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the 550-440 jet ski Kawasaki. So I found this thing in a dumpster. I tried to get it to run. Now what? Most common thing I'm told. The reason the 550s and 440s were so misunderstood these days is because people don't understand how they got here. These are the Model Ts of the watercraft era. They're the first. There was nothing before. So they had no preconceived notions of what worked and what didn't. So there's a lot of things that we've gone away from in the industry over the years. And there's a lot of things that get overlooked and assumed. We assume this is going to be done a certain way and it's not. So we're going to kind of try to go over the ski a little bit and show you some of the pitfalls that people run into when they're trying to make these things run and they're struggling through the process of getting these skis running. So the first thing we want to do is we want to start at the very front. Okay, obviously this is a gas cap, okay? This here is all plastic. There's a separation here between the inside of the hull and the out. If this is leaking anywhere, water will get into the hull. If it's leaking anywhere through here, water will get into the fuel. Water in the fuel is very bad. If you don't know how to separate water from fuel, I'm sure there's tons of videos on it. There is a seal right here that's critical, okay? This seal is perfect. Most of the time they'll split and crack here. If the seal is not here, water will get in the fuel. Refer back to the first thing we said about water in the fuel being bad. That's critical. Always check all this on every ski you touch because this stuff is 40, 50 years old now and they will crack and fail. Same thing with the tube, the filler tube in here and this filler tube here. It's supposed to be an O-ring here. See how there's an O-ring missing? There's supposed to be an O-ring here. That will stop pressure from building in the tank. That's critical. Same thing with this. This is a one-way valve. You want to check this. You want to blow into the one-way valve and you should see the tank flex. The tank needs to hold pressure because the way the fuel pump works on the carburetor is by amplification. So if you have no pressure here, you'll have way less pressure inside the carb. So that actually affects the way the carburetor operates. So you have to be able to build pressure in this system in order for the carburetor to work properly. It'll lead to like a lean bog, hesitation off the bottom, and all kinds of other issues. And on the lean bogging, this is something else I want to bring up to people's attention. These carburetors, when they were brand new, they were painted very nicely. They were dipped in a very thick paint. The first thing people want to do is throw these in a dip tank, or as you notice, the paint chips away over the years. This is a mechanical pressed-in seal, both of these are. Over the years, these will start leaking. Once these start leaking air, you're going to have issues with this engine. You're going to have lean seizures, meltdowns, all kinds of problems. So the most important thing to do is with these round body style carbs, these early 80s, late 70s carbs, you have to DevCon, put like a DevCon or a JB Weld in here and fill these in. Make sure this is really clean, fill these in. It will change the way your boat carburates. I mean, this the most overlooked thing I see on these things is the fuel system. So once you have all that addressed, you're then going to move to compression. Compression is critical on these. There's no reeds on this motor. So compression becomes critical. More often than not, the most famous ad I see on, back in the old days, it was the motorcycle trader, was 550 for sale, just needs a starter. The reason it needs a starter is because they've worn the starter out trying to get it to start. And the reason that happens, these will not run low compression like the reed motors will. As soon as it starts losing compression, because they don't have reed valves, they use the piston to cylinder wall clearance to seal the intake. So once that cylinder piston starts moving back and forth and creating an air gap there, it will actually go to blow by. And that's the problem with these skis. That's why they're so sensitive to lower compression. As soon as you start dropping compression on these things, they will no longer start. So it's critical that you keep an eye on your compression. And then that's pretty much the big catch-me's on this stuff. Obviously, the ignition is 40 years old. These electronics are designed in the 60s. So they have their own issues, and that's going to require a separate video on its own, because a lot of these electronics are starting to fail consistently nowadays, and they're getting harder to find quality replacements. So now we're going to flip the ski over and I'll show you some stuff on the bottom of the intake tract. Okay, so here we are, got the ski upside down. We're gonna look at the intake tract here really close. And we're gonna make sure there's no big cracks. This here's a pump. The pump is actually attached to the pump shoe. And see how this is all nice and siliconed? And it's very well done actually. If you look down in here, it has to go all the way down through there, all the way across the bottom, or the top as it would be. That all has to be siliconed in. If there's any voids there, that will suck air between. Okay. Now we can deal with that. Okay, so we're gonna look at the impeller. The impeller's in very good shape. We're going to look at the silicone here all the way around. It's very critical that this is siliconed 100%. If there's any voids in the silicone where the pump glues down, it's going to suck air from behind here, and it'll feel like a slipping clutch or a transmission going bad. So when you give it gas, it'll just rev before it starts to make power. That's the tell of that back there. So that's important for a cooling system to work properly, to make sure the engine has all the water it needs. And then you're going to come back here and you're going to look and make sure all those the vein sections up in the pump are okay. And make sure theirs are all good, and it'll process water, it'll pump, do what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, so another thing we're going to talk about is along with compression is crank seals. If you ever, this is a timing check hole here, an access hole for the timing. If ever you pull this and it's under pressure, that means your crank seals are bad. Crank seals going bad is one of the top reasons you'll end up seizing a motor. And it's just like this. So these spark plugs here, these spark plug caps, notice how there's no NGK cap and there's no aftermarket, there's no resistor on this. If you were to do a resistance test, there's not going to be a 5,000 ohm resistor in here. All the aftermarkets have that you screw on these end caps, they're going to have resistors in them. Those are very bad for these electronics, so you don't want to run them. So like I said, these are all things I see commonly on all the reasons what keep these 550s and 440s from running. So again, the compression should not be under like 135. By the time you get down under 135, you're going to have issues with starting, issues with acceleration. So, and now you guys know why. So we'll go from there, and good luck. Okay guys, I know we've brushed over a lot of things on this and we haven't quite dove deeper into the engine. There's many videos on engines out there. I'm not going to rehash all that stuff. It's just I see a lot of stuff that get neglected, people don't talk about. And with these older fragile electronics and these older fragile fuel systems, there's just key things you got to look out for. So obviously there's people out there that have bought $100 550s and $100 440s. Tell me what you think. Have you had this experience with them? Good or bad? And have you gave up on them? Have you pursued them to the point where you found these issues, or what? Let me know. Hey everybody, coming to you today from Minneapolis Motor Speedway. We're out here, we've put our Missouri River run to another one in the books, closed it down. We're out traveling now, and we're trying to put a video together for the river run. It's going to be not till next week probably. So I hope you enjoyed the video for this weekend. And I want to do a special shout out and a special thanks to Bass Pro and Cabela's. They sponsored a lot of this trip, did a lot for us. And I'm going to be posting a link for the sale they're having for the Independence Day. I'd like you guys to check it out and click on it. If you're going to buy from Bass Pro anyway, do it through my link, because I think it helps out my channel somehow. But I appreciate everybody for watching. I appreciate everybody's time, and it's a beautiful rain that we're having right now. I was actually outside trying to film this, and I got rained on. That's why I look like this. But thanks for watching, and have a good weekend.